Do you think people have just given up with complaining as much?
Genuinely, that's a big part of it.
You'll find that complaining on Queasy's Twitter, bro. Don't you
Oh,
worry.
of course.
They haven't given up.
And we're back. No episode last week. I know people were very upset about that, as I got with the millions of DMs. But we are back, and we're back with question of the week. First one in a couple of weeks, and a very important one, I think.
The
most important one of the season, probably. And it is this the worst competitive season of all time? I mean, I started looking at some of the replies to your tweet on this one, Reese. And there's a overwhelming general consensus, I feel like.
There is. You know, I'm looking through the responses.
Yeah.
Now, you know, I'm gonna leave Faded Pigeons one, I think maybe to last.
Okay.
Because it's like a list of sorts of just describing, you know, potential problems with the season. I think, you know, in answer to the question, I think my boy DJ says it best. He just says, yes. That was it. No explanation required.
Close it right
yes,
now. It's done.
Yes, I know. But on top of that, like kind of the first main one we'll just go through. I think Vortex, OCE player, who's one of the guys who came over to EU a while ago, did 100%. Nitro was the worst thing that's ever lasted a whole season in Fortnite. Can't believe how unskilled it is. What's the thoughts on that?
Well, I played Middle East Solo Cash Cup yesterday, and when I tell you Nitro is the worst thing ever, it is the worst thing ever, because there's nothing more infuriating than having someone that can just zoom like 50% faster than the regular person and it just break into your box. Even in the nerf state, it's impossible to play against when someone's just kind of fucking around and doing dumb shit the whole time. So, yes, I agree. I think it's dumb.
More or less, yeah. Bloomy, you how do you feel about Nitro? I feel like Nitro is like it's one of those things where it got a lot of like people talking early on in the season, and people sort of just like let it slide. And like after they did the nerfs, like I think people were like, oh yeah, no, it's fine now, whatever. But then you like actually play, and it was still just really annoying. And in fact, it got more annoying because you like weren't expecting it as much because we had the perception of, oh, it's been nerfed, you know.
First of all, I agree, but it's like the perfect item for like a 9-year-old zero build kid that doesn't know how to build properly. It's like, I want an item where I can slam into everyone's box and break all their builds because they're sweaty. Like, and you can't stop someone from running through your wall. It's not like you can turbo build against it and they're just breaking it. Like they just go into your box. Yeah, it's the most stupid item ever. Even like, and the fact that it even made all FNCS qualifiers pre-nerf, which was just absolutely bonkers to me. It's like, if I had, anyone with a brain that worked in competitive would have nerfed that on day 2. Day 2 of the season.
All right. Is this the worst competitive season of all time? Last season was so much harder to play if you had experience. Bush bomb, water bending, chain of Hades, combo of death. So some people say, some people don't. Some people not agreeing it. Some people saying that, you know.
I think like I don't want to say that's like the opposite of the recency bias in a sense. You know, that's rose tinted goggles kind of stuff. Looking back and thinking, oh, that was so bad. Chain of Hades was bad, absolutely. Bush bomb was annoying if you were in like a high level, like if you're in a finals and you're, you know, trading Surge on a tower or something. Yeah, okay, that would be kind of annoying. But like none of those is as bad as Nitro Fists or Nitro at all. So no.
The thing is that this season had some of the most changed items. That season, a lot of things didn't change, right? So like when Epic realizes, hey, this shit's kind of broken to too much extent, then they change it. But that season, nothing really changed. They just kept it the whole time. So by those standards, there's no way it's worse because they never changed anything. It stayed the same the whole season pretty much. Not even Nitro Dash got nerfed. Nitro Dash. Grim Dashes.
Oh, yeah.
Not Nitro Dash.
I was wondering.
That's next season.
Bro's full leaking.
Yeah.
All right. Is this the worst competitive season of all time? Somebody said, this season was the worst, especially when you consider that this was the last chance to make LAN, and this was the meta people had to play for it.
Ooh. And that's just like, thing is though, if you're like one of those teams who's going to qual, like It's not as meta dependent for you anyway. Like, especially if you're like getting top 13. Obviously, there are things that happen in a season, but like if you're really an FNCS Globals qualifier level team, like I don't think that's really a good excuse in my eyes.
Yeah, Bloomy, any thoughts?
Yeah, no, I agree with what Reese said. Like better players with OP items are still going to be better than bad players with OP items.
Exactly.
So it doesn't really change too much.
One of my favorite answers, I think, to this is, you know, what's pigeons? I think we'll just go through it because it just is everything, right? He responded, let's see. Cheaters in literally every tournament, Nitro Fist with exploits, broken Nitro that got patched mid FNCS, infinite healing cactuses, Nitro still being stupid after nerfs, 2-tack gatekeeper, meta changes one day before grands, infinite explosive bull, getting kicked out of games randomly, auto reload, infinite Nitro coin, fall damage bug with Nitro at the start of the season, Nuka-Cola heal spam. There's definitely more I didn't mention, but hands down the worst season there has ever been.
Very
Summers as well.
So does everyone think this is the worst comp season of all time? Any other seasons you would put ahead of it?
I mean, maybe like back in the day, like because pros didn't really exploit items the way they did now. So like with the miniguns, the stinks, the heavy snipers, the double RPGs and stuff like that. Like if that was in the game now, I think that would be worse, but the skill wasn't as high as it is now. So, but definitely, I think so. Worst competitive season ever.
I feel like for this season as well, the thing that's compounding here, it's like it's the last season of the year, right? For a lot of people for FNCS as well. So like the majority of players are also just burnt the fuck out of everything, right? So like we're just tired of the bullshit. So after like 6 months of Fortnite, we have these things on top of each other. Like it might, like overall, this FNCS, like to play, I feel like it was like mediocre. Nothing. It wasn't like overwhelmingly like really really bad. I mean, there's a few things that were really horrible. The start of the season was really, really bad with things that were in ranked, with cars and medallions and all that stuff. But then it slowly got better and better. But I feel like it's just a lot of the compounding frustration throughout the season of things being changed or not being changed fast enough that makes people have this opinion. So I think it's definitely up there as one of the worst seasons of all time. But competitive-wise, I think we got to a state where it's okay, minus the meta obviously changing, the day before.
Yeah, I think so. Fortnite's had a lot of seasons, and one of them's got to be the worst. And I've been giving this season a lot of slack. But there has been some. I'll first caveat say there's been some good things that have happened this season.
Okay.
Region lock been removed, so we've had a good change. Okay, outside of that, I'm sure there's another one, but I can't think of it. So they did nerf and also I would say is probably the meta by the time Grand Finals came around was actually pretty good, right? Like the actual Grand Finals meta was good, the games were good, it was good to watch. So like it was a kind of situation where they did get there in the end. Like the meta was fine, the Grand's meta, there wasn't anything super busted. Like Nitro is still annoying, absolutely. But I don't necessarily just think it's like a compounding effect of everything, because you have to look at what actually makes a frustrating meta to play, and it's literally everything that was in through all the seasons. The fact that the FNCS qualifiers were played in all of like the awful meta there outside of the gloves, obviously, or the fists that got removed right this relatively the start before that. Every tournament had something frustrating. You were saying, Boop, that the tournaments are not that, the meta wasn't that bad, but even still now, with all of the nerfs, if you are, say, playing like a tournament and you see the God player in your game and you're not in the top 5 players out of the lobby and they're keying you, this meta sucks. There's just something I talked to Levin about when we met up for lunch a couple of weeks ago. It was very romantic. We were not alone. But there's one thing I said here, that the medallions in particular, I hate medallions. They are awful. Like in order to get a medallion, you probably have to be in the top 5 players in the lobby. So you're already going to be better. You're giving those players more advantages. You're also giving them mythics at the same time. It's like every tournament in a lower level just turns into like the best player in the lobby just running through everyone. And it's like, that is not fun. If you are them, it is fun. It really is fun. But like if you're in a game, if you're like a mediocre player, take myself, and you go into a high elo lobby, you're doing good, and then you're just getting keyed by like an absolute goat with all the best items with goat loot. It's like I'm just not doing good. So I think I was sat and I thought, and I was like, surely this can't be the worst. I sat and I looked through the rest, and I was trying to think, like, what is the worst season? And I was like, Season X was one of the only things that popped up, and mechs were pretty nerfed by then. But to be honest, I think I'm going to put this as the worst because it's going to sound crazy, but I don't think many other ones stood out to me as, like, horrifically bad. You know, this one just had too many frustrating things to not put it at the bottom of the list.
They've usually been pretty good with the nerfs in general, but like, well, not only like the items, but the timing of the nerfs was really bad. Like, people have prepared for well over a month, hours and hours and hours and hours of practice. Yes, it's dumb having cactuses that you can just you just have infinite hills. You're just trading surge. Yes, that's stupid in the game. But like, to let people play a full season and then give them, was it 1 week before grinds?
1 day.
No, it was 1 day.
That was 1 day.
They had a whole summer break to make it happen, and then they did it 1 day before, right?
Day.
But it's, like the first, they should be on job after the first tournament of the finals being played. The first couple of weeks at maximum, they should do those changes. Same with the Nitro. It's like how you can play 2 FNCS qualifier weeks with like an item that just slams through fully built boxes. Like, come on. I didn't even need to play. Like, you could have told me that as an idea, and I'll tell you it's dumb.
The thing is, I feel like it's only going to get worse and worse, right? Because as Epic as a company and Fortnite as a company goes ahead, right? They need to make new shit up. They need to make new cool things. Like, this season was their cook. It's like chaos, boom, 13-year-old kids, summer vacation, hell yeah. But like, in future seasons to come, they're gonna have to try to top that, right? Like, in their mind, they need to top what they have currently in the meta and like the gameplay, and try to make it more innovative, make it more exciting for players to come back to the game and do all of those things. I mean, we'll talk about the new season later, but like, some of the stuff that's gonna come out, like, it's gonna be worse, and they're just gonna keep overcooking and overcooking because they feel like they need to make it more complicated, even though as players, we kind of like the simplicity, right? Like, a few cool mechanics here and there, change the shotgun meta up, change the movement meta up. Like, I thought Chapter 4 was great because every season had like one different type of meta: katanas, hammers, and then rocket ram. Now, those might have not been the most underpowered items, especially rocket ram and the hammers, but they were kind of an interesting new mechanic that every player had to learn and then adapt each season. There was no secondary bullshit like the Nitro splashes or the medallions or all that stuff that made it 4 or 5 different things that you had to learn. That was just overwhelming.
I don't agree with that. I don't think that this.
Yeah, I'm not sure I do either. Yeah,
I don't think that this now means that every season is just going to get worse and worse, because like there's different types of bad. Like so I was going to come in initially and say like I'm not sure I think this is the worst season. But then as you guys started listing stuff off, I was like, actually, nah, probably was the worst season. Like you remember, like I had forgotten about like the whole Surge Cacti thing. It was only like 2 weeks ago. But even that, like something like that massive in other seasons, you would have went, that's crazy. But just on what you said there, Boop, of like them having to like try to top themselves, I don't think that's the case. Just because like I think this season was a very clear effort to try and there was a very clear goal for what this season was going to do. And they found a cool way of achieving it in terms of like they wanted to create a season where it didn't feel like being better at building was the be all end all of how like games played out. Then they came up with these crazy items and this whole chaos theme around that, or whichever one came first, it doesn't matter. But that's what the goal was. And for the most part, I don't think there's been much on their side that would say that this has been a massive success. Like, player numbers weren't great. People complained a bunch. In fact, they went the other direction of what you said in terms of like bringing back the simplicity of like the game, and they did the reload game mode, and people loved that, right? So like, I don't think now their response to this season is, okay, now we just got to keep topping this and making it even crazier and wackier and crazier. Yeah. Like, I hate what you're saying in terms of like some of the things you've seen from the Marvel season. We will talk about that, but like, I think that's more specific to just they have Marvel and they're doing like a big collab rather than like now we just always have to get crazy with it.
Yeah, I get the one thing I forgot was they did change the rank stuff to make it 1-to-1 with tournaments, right? So like, I guess like you said,
that was what I was thinking.
That's a good change.
So like, I actually completely forgot about that until Levin mentioned. I guess you're right in that sense. Like, I don't think that they might not go over the board anymore, but I feel like that was the direction that they thought of with this season, right? As well as like, okay, we need to top up what we did in previous seasons because shit was crazy, but Epic Games isn't known to always learn from the lesson, so we'll see it when it happens.
Well, I was actually thinking this season surely has had such negative feedback that they would, in particular, obviously we can talk about next season later, but going into season with global championships in it, I was speaking to DJ about this yesterday when I was playing the Cash Cup. I was like, surely you'd think that Epic Games are the competitive team, not just the casual team, has way more say in what the meta would be next season when it comes to like what we're going to have in, because we need to have this showcasing of what this is all going to be at a big LAN, at a big event. Again, we'll talk about that with the Marvel stuff later. So I think kind of the opposite of what you're saying might actually be true, where they're going to say, okay, we need to learn from this because we're going to have a big competitive showcase going forward. And sure, maybe some season going to be like wacky and crazy, but I think as Levin said, this season has not had any metrics that would make people go, you know what, we should do
let's
more
top
than this.
Yeah. Let's do this again, but even more overboard and crazy.
With rockets.
Yeah. So I'm not too worried about that.
No, it's been one of those seasons where I don't like, as much as people might disagree, I don't like complaining about stuff. But there's just been so much stuff to complain about this season.
Yeah.
And like, there's been so much content to make around, like, why is this in the game?
The rank as well with cars.
Right.
No.
Reese mentioned it.
Briefly. But like the cow catchers and the cars and then you can drive around and regen the health of all the cars. And like, so you literally just like, so you hit someone low and ranked, and they just drive around, turret. You drive around. Okay, I'm going to explode their car. Okay, they boost away, go on some platform thing that heals the car to full. I just think for players on every type of player, casual, just no one likes this season. Like, if you're a zero builder, you load up into a zero build tournament, there's cheaters in every single game. Every single game with every tournament. They are everywhere. You cannot get away from them. I played a zero build solo cash cup this season. I only played one of them. And then 3 out of 3 games in finals, I died to blatant, like, full aimbotting, jumping, 10 dinking everyone. Like, it's...
And the drop exploiters as well. The worst human being. Drop exploiters, people flying in the air to heal off as well.
God,
like those are 2 things we also forgot to talk about. And the thing is, like, they just don't get punished. We've had an FNtasia winner do it in an NA Duo Cash Cup, and you just gotta let. There you go. That's it. Shush.
Actually,
do it as well. He did
it.
I saw a clip of him doing it. Like, it's that kind of thing where I look at a lot of these bugs and exploits, and I sit and I think back to other seasons. I just go, I don't know. There's nothing that's coming to mind that's worse. I think, right, as another question, what would be a competition before this, though? Because in my mind, I think of like some of the Chapter 3 Season 1 meta. A lot of the casuals love this because it was like the Spider-Man one.
Right.
That meta for competitive, no one was running shotguns. That was the Stinger SMG and MK7 meta where it wasn't even a shotgun to run. So what other ones are coming to mind where you could think, okay, maybe this might be a contender?
I think people would say like the Primal season in Chapter 2, or Chapter 2 Season 6. But like, now that like I'm thinking about it, like none of those seasons had more things than this season. like in terms of like, if the like what was the thing to complain about? None of those seasons had as many as this season.
Was that stink bow meta or stinkfish?
That was.
Like, I mean, that was something. There's something to be said about the stinkfish meta where you just boxed up and the motherfucker threw stink bombs at you the whole time.
They did nerf that for grands. And then the flame bows where you could fire the whole server and all the grass. So that's
and it burned all the trees around you. You had no cover.
Yeah, I saw a clip of Rojo like on height getting like 10 kills just with fire.
But that's the thing. It's like, it's weird because this season definitely has had its positives, like some of the ones we mentioned, right? Which are like, that's why like when I came into this, I was like, I don't know if I would, because even though there's been so many things, I definitely think there's been seasons in the past where we had more complaining generally, like in terms of like the community feeling towards a season. And like the amount of complaining people are doing, I feel like in the past there's probably been seasons where there was more.
I mean, do you think people have just given up with complaining as much?
Genuinely, that's a big part of it. Like,
I mean, you'll find that complaining on Queasy's Twitter, bro. Don't you worry.
Of course.
They haven't given up.
No, people will never give up. But
one of the things I think is a lot of people might not have the same opinion, but I feel like Stark season was one of those seasons that like you don't realize how overwhelmingly broken Stark season was until you look back at like shockwaves, one pumps, a shocker that literally could kill you in one shot, you know. But everyone really loves that shit because it feels strangely nostalgic because it was really fun to play. Which, you know, there's something to be said about how good ranked is, right? Because if ranked is good and arena is good, then the general consensus for people is like, oh yeah, we love that season because everyone loves Stark season. But that shit was also broken as hell because you could just get one pumped. Like there's nothing you could do. You just get a bail up pumped by a blue pump sometimes.
I didn't even like Stark season at the time. Like I'd said repeatedly that the land on chest 50-50 meta, people said it was really fun, and I was like, yeah, it is, but also it's not. From a lot of games when you die. And then like say Grimcoin kind of the similar meta last season, and like that was fun, but the idea of just landing 50-50 and like everyone lands somewhere is okay, but that doesn't make a season good, you know, at all.
I also think that all of gaming during COVID has a buff. So
like,
it's just a nostalgic as fuck time. It was like such a weird time in the world. Like everybody in the world was just at home gaming. Like that shit was fire.
That was sick. I think one more I would mention here is actually Global Championships last year, and this was not anything to do with meta, but literally server performance. Well,
that's another thing.
Positive.
Like,
that is another one. You're right. That is another positive.
And it's
server
a big
performance
one.
Been really good.
Sorry,
that is a big one.
It's weird though, just because I think like when you look at a lot of the other seasons that you compare it to, you would say one season maybe it's like a meta thing. In the example you gave there, it was specifically for LAN, which again that doesn't affect. Like when you're looking at Fortnite competitive as a whole, like that is like a very small part of it, right? Like this season I think had the widest scope of just like bugs, meta changes, timing of meta changes, loot pools, ranked mode. Like there was just so many different things, and even though there was a bunch of positives with it, I feel like that probably is what makes it, in many ways the worst comp season. All right, well,
unanimous.
Welcome back. We've come to a common ground. Welcome back to the FNtasia podcast. It's good to be back. We missed last week's episode, which was the first episode we've missed since the return of FNtasia, which was really sad. That was I actually shed a little tear. But we are back, and we'll never miss an episode ever again.
Even if it's one-man army, man.
Yeah, we will have Harry come on here and just monologue for 2 hours straight.
It'll be all about Queasy. That's it.
Yes, all about Queasy.
I have a bone to pick with you, Levin, about something we spoke about 2 weeks ago, right?
Go on.
And we talked to you and we tried to warn you, do not let Vico go on Hardline FN. And look what happened. The one episode he goes on, all of a sudden, he gets 9th in a duo cash cup. He doesn't make money in a solo cash cup anymore. He doesn't even win a game in Evo Cup anymore. You've ruined him for global champions, Levin. What have you done?
I honestly, I don't know what to say. I
first Miro, then Pink, now Vico. Like the list is there. It's obvious what's happening, man. Get them on FNtasia. Bloomy's gonna win FNCS this season.
Yeah, I guess we just have to shut down Hotline FN. That's it.
Yeah, I think that's the only reasonable
let's
choice.
Just get rid. Let's just get rid of it. Just won't do an episode again. So, if you're wondering why there's no more Hotline FN episodes, it's right here because of Boop.
For the player's sake.
Yeah, for the player's sake, of course. Yeah, I mean, there's stuff to talk about this week. We had EWC last week, the Esports World Cup featuring Fortnite that took place. Bloomy was competing there. And he enjoyed it. I was there as well. Everyone watched, right? I know when Reese told me he had watched, I was like, "Oh damn, okay, things are getting serious."
I was sitting here locked into at least 5 of the games that were going on, so it was good.
Nice.
I actually ended up missing the final because it was so hot. I had to go out and die. Now I've resurrected back to life. So I missed the final, unfortunately, but I watched most of the semi-finals, so it was good to watch, though.
Great. Well, we'll get on to EWC in a second. We also had some new season information come out. We had the trailer for the new season come out that we'll get into as well, and then any other things in between. I want to say big shout out to all the audio listeners. If you're watching the podcast right now on YouTube and you enjoy watching on YouTube, you can also listen to it on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to your podcast. If you're out and about, again, it's very hot right now, especially in like the UK and a lot of Europe. If you don't want to be sat inside your room listening, put it on your phone, go for a walk and listen to the podcast there. And appreciate all your support. It's been great. We've been having a good flow here. So looking forward to continuing things going. On to EWC. So started last week, Thursday. We had a group stage, which was like a GSL double elimination group bracket, where essentially it was like you win 2 games and you're through. If you lose 2 games, you're out of the group. And then into a single elimination playoffs. So no double elimination playoffs. It was like you play your game in the playoff, you win, you go forward, you lose, you're out of the competition. And I mean, it's funny because the last time we talked about EWC here, it was actually when we did the interview with Bloomy and we talked about the groups. And, you know, funnily enough, the group stages ended up going pretty all right for you guys in the end, right? I think better than some people would have expected. But the overarching story of EWC is obviously the champions, the winners, Exed, dominated the competition. I think they dropped 3 maps in total.
2 in the finals.
2 in the finals, 1 in the semi-finals against Heroic. They absolutely bossed the competition. And I don't know about for you, Boot, but I saw a lot of people who were a bit surprised going into the competition that like Exed were as good as they were. I know Bloomy from like a player's perspective, right? Because obviously you're scrimming people and you're talking to players. It wasn't a surprise, and it wasn't a surprise.
All the players knew.
Like everybody knew like that Exed were like the best team, but for the viewers at home who maybe don't have that information, a lot of people were surprised, it seemed.
Yeah, definitely.
So
I think a lot of people thought Falcons were gonna smash it.
I was gonna say, like, from a lot of people, like, I mean, everyone, from my perspective as well, I thought, you know, Falcons was gonna destroy everybody because, like, obviously, DreamHack, they were by far the best team. They were undefeated at DreamHack. But then you have to realize DreamHack was like 2 to 3 months ago, right? And a lot has changed since that point as well. And especially with the situation with all the players of Yapko and Tayson in North America, all of a sudden, you know, maps are changing. There's a completely different new format, and Exed honestly surprised me, but at the same time, you add one of the best players in the world and maybe the best player in the entire format into a squad of players that are already very, very collected, very, very practiced, and very, very coordinated. And then you have magic happening, pretty much, right?
Yeah. I mean, I knew as soon as they picked up Cold, it was like that. I thought the only chance that anyone has is to pick up Venno when Venno got dropped. Just for someone to drop their weakest player and pick up Venno. I think that's the only chance that someone had to really beat them.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because when we talked about like you know, the Exed situation of dropping Trashy and picking up Cold, you know, one of the key points that was made was like, it sucks because everybody would hate to be in Trashy's position there, but most people, I think, understood why it happened because
business is business at the end of the day.
You know, and it's like for them, you know, you look to them as a team that could make top 4, right? And like they would be a team that could maybe make it deep in the competition. But then you add Cold, and now they become a team where you're like, they can probably win the competition, and that's what they ended up doing, right? You mentioned it there, Boop, a bit of just like obviously individually when you look at their roster, super stacked. Like you can match them up player for player with any other team and be like, these guys are individually just goated. And then on top of that, they had Sven as a coach, who was one of the few people who actually like put effort into coaching this, like that are like the regular Fortnite coaches. And like then like the vibes were good and the strategy was good, and then like they have the best individual players as well. Like everything was just perfect and geared towards them being the best team in the tournament, and that showed in the server over and over again.
The thing that you could also, the nice thing about this from this weekend as well is we got to hear the players' comms, right? We don't really see that too often. It's finally real esport for once, you know, it's great. And one of the things you notice very quickly when you're listening to Exed's comms versus Exed's comms was, Exed's comms was this. Man, he's 1 HP, man. What the fuck, man? Peterbot screaming the whole time. But I don't know how they're concentrating halfway through. And then on Exed, it's like, okay, ready, mantle up, 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, boop. All right, he's coming to the flank. Okay, but like their comms was so much better than Exed's, and it was kind of obvious in hindsight now, like how much better Exed was as a coordinated team compared to Exed. Because like Exed just screaming the whole time. Peterbot's complaining, bro, like just keep focusing me, man. Like I have 0 kills, man. I have 0 kills. Like he's looking at the kill score, and then Exed's just talking about the game, right? So it shows the value, I guess, of like professionalism and having a set structure and a set practice schedule. Because like all those guys probably practice multiple hours per day, even with FNtasia going on. If I had to guess.
Yeah.
And it was interesting as like a viewer with not a huge amount of information coming into watching it to start with, because like I said, I haven't been paying too much attention. Exactly what you just said, Boop, became very, very apparent to me the first time I heard like their comms whatsoever. Because one of the things that if you really ever watch any VOD, if you really watch anything in Fortnite, even at top levels of FNCS, a lot of the comms and a lot of the things aren't as professional as you would think at all. Like, no, they're not as practiced. It's not like they have super set plays, say in FNCS, for example, where you'd go, oh, we have a specific height retake we want to do, and we name it height retake 4, and they're like, let's do height retake 4 now, you know? That's not something you really hear in Fortnite almost at all. So to come in and hear the Exed's comms be so clear, so concise, so practiced and everything, immediately go, oh, these guys are the bosses.
Yeah. And it was funny because like going into the tournament, when I was like in the player like lounge and like in around the hotel, you see people like, I'd ask everyone like, yeah, who's been looking good, you know, what's give me the scrim bucks, you know? I wanted to get some inside information. Literally everybody, every time I asked, Exed won this competition. Then somebody was like, I forgot who it was, but somebody was like, it's over, man. Sven's got like a fucking document on every team, and so I hear that and I'm like, okay, I gotta chat to Sven. So I message Sven and I'm like, yo, buddy, let's talk. And we start talking and instantly I'm like, oh yeah, okay, it's over. Like it's over for everyone else. Like, this guy's way too locked in. Like I've not seen someone this locked in.
He is the
before,
definite difference breaker.
Yeah, no, literally such a difference maker for them.
Teams.
And so like then he was like, yo, come watch our scrims. So the day before the tournament, I went to their practice room. I watched them scrim against Fnatic, and I think I watched another game against another team. And I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, no. That was when I was very much confirmed of like, okay, this tournament is done before it started. And there is like just no real chance for anyone, especially just based off of what you're hearing. Props to them though. It was really nice to see. You know, it was nice to have that story of like, this team is like the monster that we've built up. Like, can anyone challenge them? Because it made when Heroic won their map against them in the semis, I was very much like, oh, like some of those games were like much closer, you know. So it was nice to sort of have that narrative of like this big bad wolf who we've built up, and we want to see them be beat. But all in all, man, can't really fault Exed as a whole. All of them had such big moments as well.
Yeah,
like. Cold did what Cold was expected to do in terms of just like consistently being that guy that gets 30 bombs, right? But then like Ritual would have like huge plays like as the marksman with that sniper in hand. And it was something that we highlighted a lot on like the broadcast where it was like, people don't realize how good of a leader Ritual was for these guys. Like he was Sven in the server of like being able to provide leadership, set them up, making sure comms are on point and good. He really impressed me. And then like Muzz, again, there was so many questions around whether Muzz would perform on LAN, because for people who don't know, part of why they weren't as great at Dallas was because Muzz, who they sort of relied on as like this carry sort of guy, kind of choked a bit. You know, he struggled with the pressure on LAN. And that wasn't the case, it felt like, watching them at all this weekend, because he would pop off so much, especially in the finals. And in the finals, like, he was going crazy. It's like he was like, I've seen the Ritual praise, I've seen the Cold praise. You guys better show me some love. So now all across the board, man, really, really great performance from all of them.
I think the one thing about the Exed team that someone may correct me on this, but looking at like the individual players on that team, they are like all A-star players. Forget this actual game mode, right?
Yeah.
Just from like a talent perspective already, they are all tier 1. Like insane nutty players anyway.
They're all FNCS winners apart from Ritual, right? You just came second.
Exactly.
Second,
who is like literally one of the best players anyway. And I think when you look at a lot of the other teams, that same caliber couldn't really be said. So look at Exed, who's obviously really good. And like obviously, say guys like Okus and Milks were insane generally. And their performance stood out. I'm not trying to talk them down, but like they don't have like the caliber of player in all other game modes as well. So to me, it was interesting to see like what you could consider an all-star team come through and actually perform like the hypothetical all-star teams usually would. Because usually you see these kind of like combinations back. We've talked about this a lot with like say Vino and Tayson and FNCS, for example. But it's interesting to see this kind of come together and then actually just like play out perfectly.
Yeah. Well, it's the it factor, right? Because like these guys all have been in situations where the final game matters for them to win an FNCS. They know what that pressure feels like, and for other people, like they probably think about the 100K. I mean, Milks definitely, I think, was one of the top players. Like no one knew of him. Everyone's like, who the fuck is this Milks guy? But like, then 30 minutes later, like, holy shit, Milks! Oh my god, he gets a double, he gets a triple kill. So like, definitely a very bright future, maybe for Zero Build. Probably not a very good comp player from what I know, but. There's players like that, but then when it actually matters in game, those are players that might miss a few bullets or make a few differences and not fully show up, and that makes the difference in this type of tournament because it's 7 games, but the games go quick. Like you could be playing a hardpoint, and in 3 minutes you've already lost. So
literally, it was interesting you mentioned comms as well because we had like the producers like of the broadcast, some of them were like listening to comms for when they wanted to do listenings, right? And one of them had told us on the Exed side that like things had gotten like really messy. I can't remember if it was in the grand finals or in the series before.
It was probably the CTF game.
I think it was I think it was actually against KC though. I think it was in the series before. And what they were saying was like they were saying that the team was like complaining about Peterbot because he wasn't common enough. So like they were all like, you need to talk more. And then like in the next map, like the next map was like Keeper, and like he overcorrected because he was pissed off. And so he was just shouting like every single comm, like the smallest shit. And then there was like another time when they had mentioned how like Milks, just like they were complaining at Milks of like, bro, you need to like stop going off on your own and like actually listen to our instructions as like the team and stuff. So again, that was one of the better teams as well. Props to Exed. That wasn't to like, shit on them at all, because they were again the second best team in the tournament, looked really good. But it just shows you the difference in the level between Exed and even the other best teams in the tournament. Let's talk about some of those other teams, though. I think when you look at, obviously, coming into the tournament, we sort of mentioned them already. People expected Falcons to do a lot better. And a big part of that problem you highlighted already was just you had Yapko and Tayson in NA, you had Teeny and Chicho in EU, and from what I gathered, without naming names or blaming anybody in particular, there were 2 players on the team who didn't want to practice as much as the other 2 players on the team, and that led to you'd be wrong in that one, my good friend.
I mean, Tayson tweeted, if I want to say a lot of things, but I won't. So that means that he wanted to practice already, right?
Interesting.
Yeah, look.
You could just name the names, bro. Like this is the.
I'm gonna guess this is the
spot.
Okay, think about this. Actually, no, because even that you might not make as much sense.
It's not Tayson, so maybe the other bulk and Chicho, Tayson, Chicho, and then.
Look, it was one of those situations where I think there was some people who were very focused on this because they saw this as a great opportunity to do well. And there were some people that probably were looking at FNCS as like a great opportunity to do well.
So for you listeners out there, that means that Chicho needed to call the thingy, so to call the global championship. So he was locking in. Teeny, top star player right now, came second. Can you even blame him for not practicing that much? He also tweeted that we didn't practice much, so I'm thinking, so that is not confirmed, but we're just saying. So
I've not said anything.
He's not said a word.
I've not said anything.
So we're team blaming now.
Well, I mean, so one thing that I would say is that like it did seem clear that like Falcons just weren't as prepped as like some of the other teams, right? Like they clearly hadn't put in as much time. So whatever the reason was for that is, for the players to let us know. But Falcons definitely I think weren't as good as some people were expecting. Do you know who wasn't as good as people that I was expecting? And I'm gonna blame you for this one, Bloomy.
GG.
No, not GG.
Oh.
GG, I felt we'll talk about GG in a second.
We should have got Blood X on for GG for this one.
Yeah, no, we should. We'll definitely talk about GG. This one's a bit more of a minor one. Al Ula, the Middle East team.
Oh yeah,
they fucking sucked, man.
They were bad, and like Bloomy had me thinking they were actually like a dark horse, and other people did as well. It wasn't just you, so I won't fully blame you, Bloomy.
No, I was just saying they were definitely overlooked because I've played them in a lot, and also I don't think Hero, it was their like main carry. Like there's been
Right,
times
right.
we played him, he'd have 28 kills, and his teammates would all be on like 9 or 8. But I don't think he turned up, and I just don't think the other players stepped up to cover that. You know.
Yeah, no,
But-
that's what it felt like.
Yeah. But they also had a crazy hard group, right? They had
Very hard.
Yeah.
Exed and GG.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Power.
You know.
They're a very tough group. But in that group as well was GG, Gaming Gladiators, and they were sort of, for me, I considered them in like the top 3 teams.
Yeah.
For me, my top 3 was Exed, Exceed, and GG.
Yeah.
And GG just had such a tough path of like
They did.
Exceed
Yeah.
were in their group, and then when they get out the group, they have to
got
play
Exed,
Exed, you know? So
yeah.
like you've got to play the 2 other best teams
Yeah.
in the tournament. And I think we didn't watch the GG Exceed matchup. I know it was close. Like I think it went to game 5. Like it went all the
3-2,
way.
Yeah. But Exceed had the best seed.
So they ended up having the hard point chalet, which
Exactly.
again,
Yeah.
unfortunate. It meant like they just
Yeah.
had a guaranteed map loss.
Yeah.
But then obviously they go up against Exet, get rolled over.
Yeah.
And I think there's a couple things you can look at as to part of that. And again, this is like the
Yeah.
beauty of like having LAN and like having these types
Yeah.
of game modes and these stories is one, from talking to them, it felt like they struggled like on that stage and like a lot of those guys just don't have like a load of like LAN experience. Like it just felt like a lot of them just didn't show up individually and were probably a bit nervous. And on top of that, from speaking to Sven and like the Exet guys, they fully like Exet in that matchup completely played to just anti-strat them. Like it was like they had looked at all the positions GG like to play and were just like, how do we fuck each of them over as much as possible? Like based off of what they like to do, which was really
Their
cool.
playstyle is very good. GG's playstyle is very good. And like the only times we've ever beat them is because we've played so much against them. And we know where how they play. They play the same for every map. I don't think they really have like set strats. They just have a set play style. They have one person this area, one person this area, and if one person dies on the right, then everyone on the left drops back. It's like so they're very predictable. It's like so if you kill one of them, you know you can push up on the right side because they're not going to have one lurking. And I just don't think they had enough strategy. They weren't very versatile. So Sven just said, right, there's going to be one lurking behind that archway, and there was.
Yeah.
They just played the same, which is also that they play very set compared to everyone else. But if they could have, I feel like it would have been like they would have probably been the best team, or well, definitely top 2, if like people didn't know how they played.
Right. Boop, was
that
any
just a
big...
scrim issue? Sorry, was that
Sorry?
just because they were scrimming against people, or like say scrimming against Exet, or are they streaming or what?
No, the tournament, like the early rounds, well, also scrimming as well, I guess, but the earlier rounds.
Yeah.
You know, you
Makes
play before that semi-final. You play 3 matches. Well, if you lose, you play 3 matches. Sorry, before the quarterfinal, you play 3 matches. So they essentially have, 3 VODs of every map, and I think they seem to just play the same in all of them.
Yeah, it was tough from that perspective for GG. All in all, though, I didn't think there was like a crazy amount of like big underperformances outside of the ones we highlighted.
No.
I think for the most part, like things went as expected.
Yeah.
Were there any big surprises for you watching Boop?
Not really. I think one of the teams we obviously didn't mention yet is Commune Core, right? And the big storyline for this weekend was like, what would have been the difference if they had Venom with them, right? But at some points, I mean, Anas was the best player on the team. Like sometimes he's dropping 30 bombs, like, and he's not even playing like the role that probably gets you that many eliminations, right? Like he plays, I don't know the names of it, but he plays on with the shitty scar and the SMG. Yeah, so
So it's not a shitty scar; it's a very good scar.
Okay, the good scar, but like it's not the one that you expect to get the most kills on, like hardpoint, for example, right? So like he was getting like most kills on hardpoint, and one of the things I think, and it's obviously very easy to see it from the outside, but one of the things I never understood was the way that they set up the sniper role. So the way that they played is they had Mustache play sniper on CTF maps, And then on hardpoint maps and every other FFA type of map, they let Malabuka play.
Yeah.
But then you saw the big difference of Malabuka on Sniper just wasn't good compared to Mustache. And maybe he was better on, and maybe Mustache is better on like the burst role and like he gets more eliminations that way. But you saw that was like a very big weakness in the team. Is like, hey, we have not like a very good sniper, because I don't think Malabuka was that sort of level compared to Mustache on the Sniper. So I think that the big storyline of Anas, was the reason why they didn't do well. I don't think
but I think it's the role thing. Like, engineer is the most important role.
Yeah.
And certainly from Dallas, like Veno was the second best engineer behind Chicho.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I guess the most important role, Veno was also the IGO and the leader of that squad.
Yeah.
So like, yes, Anas did play fantastically, like probably top 3, top 4 in his role of the whole tournament. But I think with like Veno IGLing and sort of leading, I think everyone else plays better.
Yeah, I mean, they would probably swap roles then, right? Then Mercer's would probably be a sniper or something. Then
before Merstache was on sniper.
But they had just been swapping it around like a bunch either way.
Yeah, it was weird.
Which was like, it seemed a lot to be based off of like feeling and just like what they felt comfortable with. But again, it wasn't like I think we said it at the time. It felt like it was a very sideways decision, and it didn't really. I'm glad Anas didn't like play bad and then get a bunch of blame. Nobody can be like, this was because of Anas.
That would have been the worst thing to happen for him.
But he also wouldn't have cared too much because it's Anas,
I mean, I only saw he was the only one that brought his grandma to the land. Like, how can you hate that man? Like, you got Mama Nas, Papa Nas, Sister Nas, and Grandma Nas there chilling, bro.
Yeah,
Did you see when he brought the thing out to be destroyed? He was just ear to ear grinning.
Yeah.
Everyone else looked so depressed when they were getting their keys destroyed, but he was just smiling away, bro.
It's
Anas, holiday, man.
Anas,
I love him. He's so good.
The one thing that ruined it, obviously, I think we'll talk is the map, right? I think that was where we're gonna go to, anyways. Like, with the things and the scores, right? I'm looking at the playoffs bracket, and every single top tier seed won in the playoffs, pretty much. It was Exed, Heroic, Exed, and then KC. They all won because they were top seed. And then Exed won against Heroic because they were top seed. Exed won against KC because they were top seed, and then Exed won against Exed because they were top seed. Well, not because they were top seed, but that did have an influence, because basically there was one map where you were basically guaranteed to win the map. We saw some teams underperform when they did get that advantage, but pretty much one time was there was one time that a team lost on red side, and that was Bloomy's team.
That was me,
yeah.
So, the idea behind that was because we were one of the lower seeded teams.
Mm-hmm.
I think we were like seed number 11 or something. So we thought we would just never ever play red side. We would never get to play red side on the hard point, so we didn't really practice it. And then you'll say, oh, why didn't you pick blue side then? Because we actually had the choice to pick. But then we were like, well, I know they're a prepared team, and I know they've prepared on red side. And if a team are prepared on red side, there's zero chance you're winning anyway. So it's like, well, we just took red and we took our chance. It was fairly close. We lost by like 35 points or 30 points or something. But we were just like, I mean, we played it once or twice, but we put no effort into playing our red side.
Just to interject there, can someone explain why this is so bad? One side's worse than the other on this particular game mode, because I kept hearing people talk about it, but I didn't quite hear the full explanation of what actually makes it so bad.
Right, so just quickly to explain the map. So basically, there's one map that was initially capture the flag. One map was officially hardpoint, but they were built around the game mode in mind. So capture the flag had 3 sort of lanes, and hardpoint is sort of like a square map. There's a point in the middle, point top right, top left.
We can hear you.
Point top right, top left, bottom right, bottom left. So it's like each team has an advantage on 2, and then there's a neutral one in the middle. Right. But the map with hard the map
that was initially for capture the flag that got turned into a hardpoint map.
Yeah.
Where they had to put the hard points meant that like it wasn't even which amount of points were like neutral for both and like favored for both. So the red side ended up having like more the points that were favorable for them compared to what the blue side had. So there was like 2 points that were like all right for blue side, and then there was 3 points that were more really favorable for the red side.
Right.
So it just meant that like mathematically, because again, that's like how you sort of play hard, but it's like mathematically, it's about just getting enough like time on the points that are favorable for you, and then like trying to win the neutral one. Whereas like on red side chalet, like you just play your points. Like you just can't lose. Like if you just play the points that are just most favorable to you because of spawns, like you literally just can't lose.
I see.
Unless you're Bloomy, you can lose. But you know, my bad.
The thing is, CTF also you have to swap sides, so it's naturally going to be biased towards one side, right? Because you're going to swap sides anyway, so it makes it even at the end of the day. So, and the funny thing is that the map creator was on Twitter as well. It was like, yeah, sorry about the map, guys, but like they gave us a very quick deadline, and this is what we came up with. Like, everyone's like, yeah, it's fine, whatever. You know, it's the first time running sort of thing.
They did a fantastic job with the maps. You know,
this
game started April. Yeah, like we were in the Discord giving feedback. Like, I think they could have done a tiny, just with that hard point, that red side hard point. I think they could have done a little bit more. Like, you just follow the same principle of like you have two on the red sided area, 2 on the blue sided area, and 1 in the middle, which they kind of did. But like one of the blue ones was like towards the red, you know. But the overall, like for bugs and stuff in the map, they all got fixed. And
Keeper ended up being one of the best maps at the end of the game. Keeper ended up being one of the best maps, I feel like, at least to watch, right? Like
to watch, not to play.
Yeah, I mean to play, like you're going to the basement the whole time, like that shit was awful. But like to watch is like it was actually kind of decent compared to like the search and destroy map that they had before. Like they definitely saved that by a lot.
Yeah, that was like the main reason for keeper, as all the players are like, well, this shrinking zone is just really boring and campy, which it kind of was to play and watch. But the thing is with keeper, it's like it just feels so random. Like there's no correlation between, like there is, but sometimes you'll kill someone 50 meters away, and then they will spawn on their team with the keeper, and it's like, so you've just been rewarded for dying. And sometimes, just out of pot luck, you'll spawn 130 meters away, and that just gives 20 seconds of you not being able to fight for your team. You know? Sometimes, and you see no pattern between the times you spawn 130 meters away and the time you spawn 50 meters away.
Yeah, it was tough. Like of all of the maps, from like an analytical perspective, Keeper was the one I felt the least like good about in terms of being able to like actually like give good insight of like what teams are doing. Outside of just like the basics of like this team was doing this hold and like the basement hold and the tower hold and that hold, the cliff hold. Like that was like obviously more obvious, but like there was a lot of things that felt random about that. Even beyond that, it's like you mentioned there, with Keeper, it just felt like you got too punished for winning team fights. Like there wasn't enough reward, it felt like, for actually winning your team fight. Because you win your team fight, now everyone's down on shield, and then they all respawn like next to you with like max shield, and it's like it just felt really odd. And sometimes, I think when talking about like feedback for the maps, which was like a big thing, Keeper needs to have like the timer stop when you hold the key, so that you actually have games that like finish out and get to 150. Because the problem was that there was just way too many like the majority of the Keeper matches just got to a point where it's like mathematically impossible, and now it's done. Whereas like if the timer didn't stop when you have the key, you could actually have sick comebacks where like a team gets it when the other team's on like 145 and they just have to hold it for the next like 50 seconds, and it's like super intense, whatever. Similar thing needs to be added to capture the flag as well. Capture the flag needs to have like a sudden death like on the flag. It's like,
or when you hold the flag, the timer doesn't go down. Because we've had like 2 meter stops right in front of the flag, like 3 times I think in the semifinals.
No, literally just add sudden death where like you can't, where like if you have the flag, the game doesn't end. Like that's perfectly, like that would make that mode so much fun. Because there was so many games where if you had a sudden death mechanic, holy shit, it would have been hype. But slight changes to the maps. And
I was going to say so obviously Halo has a lot of these game modes already, and how they deal with a lot of them is kind of similar to what you've mentioned. So capture the flag is exactly that. If you're holding the enemy's flag, there is a sudden death. Say like 30 seconds is added to the game, and if you drop it, it still continues, but it has to be reset. Then the game ends. So like the other team can make a play to, they kill you, and then they have to reset it. Game would end. For oddball mechanic, I can't remember if it's oddball or which is the same as like Keeper.
It's oddball.
Yeah. No, I'm saying in Halo, I'm trying to remember the rules. I can't remember if it's just the same like point, but yes, if you're holding the ball, or in this case the key, then the timers won't end. There is another mechanic which is King of the Hill, which is not was staying in a zone for ages. It's not the same as what's it called in ESL again? Can't remember it. Hardpoint. But the one way to do it, which would maybe work for Keeper instead, is that you have to hold the item or be in the area for a certain amount of time, and then you get a point, rather than it being like a point for every second. So say if you control the keeper or whatever the key, I keep forgetting the name for it. The key for say a minute or for 30 seconds, you'll get a point. And rather than it being like based on seconds, and that stops a lot of like the random kind of bits at the end, because you have to actually fucking hold it for a certain amount of time rather than just dying. And then when this person get, they have the shield advantage, so they kill you. So it actually has to be like good holds with it essentially all the time. Yeah. But yeah, some of those little changes could definitely make it good. Came down to tense matches though for the current format. So some of those little sudden death things would make some really, really, really good spectator sport, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the hard things is, from like a viewer perspective, that would have made this so much more fun, is if these modes were just like things people could actually play themselves. And the problem is, like, you can't play these modes because no one's playing them. So you can't like queue up and like play. Whereas like, had these modes been things that were like, actually like really popular in like the UEFN ecosystem and had like loads of people playing, I feel like there'd be that element of like, one, people are more likely to generally understand because they would have had a chance to play it.
Yeah.
And then like, two, like, again, there's just like, it's like that cycle of like, this is something I can actually play. Like, I remember watching my first CS event, and then actually was like, well, I can actually now just go play this tournament that was really fun to play. Whereas like, people can't really engage with these modes. So like, everything you're learning about it is through what the commentators are saying, through what Boop and other like watch party people are saying. And like, that's basically it. It's like you're like, it's where do you build that understanding of the modes?
I'm gonna, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I'm playing slight devil's advocate, where I don't think it makes it a worse spectator sport though, in a way, or a spectator sport, because for me watching it, the thing is that makes it such a difference between, say, Fortnite. The main game mode is that obviously is so easy to understand. Like, if you watch any esport, I jump into a match and it's tense and it's exciting to watch regardless, right? So right. Without any backstory, without anything, I know the teams are going on. I can see it. I can see how tense it is. The scoreboard sometimes worked, and when it did, I was like, oh shit. Like, you can see the tense moments. The casting was good. All this kind of stuff where you like, even without playing it once, I haven't played a single game, I was enjoying watching it because it was good from that front. It didn't actually make me want to play it at all, though. That's actually kind of the difference, where I thought, this is another kind of zero building mode where I'm not that interested in as a player, but I would watch this at high level tournaments again. And maybe other people would think maybe they would want to play and get involved. Absolutely, I understand that. But I don't actually think the fact that you can't play it makes it worse, if that makes sense.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying it made it worse. I'm saying it would have been like even better if you could engage. Like, if you could engage with these modes more, like, it would make it even better to watch. Not that it made it worse because you couldn't. Because again, even me, 100%. I had no problem engaging with the modes, and I haven't played to this day. I haven't played a single one of these maps apart from day one, the original CTF. I've not. That's the only time I ever played, when they dropped the map the first day.
See, on the other side, I was someone that actually played it a lot with like Bloomy and the Exed Discord and stuff, and like, doing some stuff, and like that made me understand it and appreciate it a lot more and understand the map from that level. And the issue is, Reese, as well, is like, you're a functioning adult with a brain, right? And when I was watching the tournament,
and he has Halo experience.
And he has Halo experience.
Thank you
and
for
he
that,
knows
yes.
what other esports, like good esports, other than Fortnite. But like, my chat the whole weekend
Halo,
was
so not really like.
What's going on?
Arguable, but my chat the whole week was like, what's the flag? What does the HUD look like? Like, they never understood. First of all, motherfuckers in Fortnite don't know what a HUD apparently it is. Because like look at the squares at the top. The 3 squares means how many games you won. Yeah, but like, what's the score? What's the other score there? What does that mean? Like, it was insane how hard it was for people to understand.
To be fair, I don't think it should be like dimmed when you win a game. Like, I feel like it should be like 1 to 3 all dimmed. Then when you win a game, you get like a bright light.
I mean, in CS, it's the same thing. It's like you have a little gray box, and then it's like grayed out afterwards. I'm looking at like an Onipixel stream right now. Like, it's like a yellow line. Like, for most people, they understand it, but I guess you need to learn it to actually know it. So
I'm still to this day don't know if it was the white as means you've won the game, or if the gold means you won.
Gold means you won. Gold means you won.
Like, but thing is, jumping into the first game, Like, say when we just, if the viewers watching this stream right now, you see there's the squares up there, I still wouldn't know if it was coming out from the center in white or if it was the darker grayed out one, you know?
Maybe they should
that
just turn on
gold
the
isn't like
dots when
a
it comes
winning
up.
gold.
Yeah.
That's kind of like almost a dark gray. So that one I understand. The rest of it, dumb. But like how many games won? Like a couple times where I looked at that and I was like, not entirely sure. But that's a very minor thing, you know? That's like, that's understanding the actual game mode it's in itself. You know, if you can't understand capture flag, mate, playing it's not going to help. Like that's just a problem on you, you know.
Speaking of the broadcast, I think if we want to move to that, like I think the broadcast definitely showed a lot of potential for stuff that we can take into FNCS game modes, right? Like I think the comparison a lot. I saw someone made it on Twitter. I forgot who wrote it, but like we had casters who probably had no experience with Fortnite at all before this weekend come into this role, and you don't need that much Fortnite experience for it, but they came into this role and they absolutely smashed it, right? Like I would say the broadcast was, I hate to say it, better than the FNCS broadcast in many regards. In terms of the casting, maybe not like the analysis part, but you know, they did their research, they were professionals, they did well, but they understood the assignment, and like the broadcast itself as well, like the listen-ins, the way that we had like shots of cameras. I do wish we had like player face cams and stuff for every single person like we have in CS, but I think there's a lot that can be gained from this as a broadcast. But unfortunately for FNCS broadcast, we're just never going to have it because we can't have Queasy saying fuck on broadcast. Otherwise the kids die, you know? Which is very unfortunate because that was, like, literally, if I could listen a whole match of people talking in comms, I would literally listen to it. It was so good to it. It was so
I think the listening
100%.
was a little bit delayed. So I don't know if or was it not delayed? I'm not sure.
No,
there was like a minute delay.
Oh, okay. Okay, then scrap that.
Yeah. So one of the things I want to take lead on this for a second on the casting part in particular, because I think that's when I started listening to it, I found that very interesting because I think when you're saying there's things that are transferable here to the FNCS broadcast, I'm not necessarily sure that a lot of the casting elements are.
I don't think they are either.
Yeah, because so the people that are casting here are some of the best casters in their respected games, right? So like a lot of the casters were Halo casters. So you mentioned me knowing a lot about the Halo, not a lot, but knowing the Halo scene, seeing Halo casters come in and cast a Halo game mode where most of the action is fast paced. That is what they know. That's what they're good at. And the game modes are pretty much the same. So like who is who in the team players and breaking down like gameplay and analysis, they can do the gameplay already. In terms of like player history, it's so fast. There's not much time to like even add bits about that. It's not relevant. And unlike in Fortnite, where in like the main game mode, there's so much time to kill that your casters have to have time to fill the gaps. They have to have like analysis on what's going on. But in this mode, it's you know, I don't think that carries over well as much.
Yeah, when I'm like teaching people about like commentating in Fortnite, the one thing I always tell people is like, in Fortnite you have to be able to tap into so many different narratives because there is so much time to build the story, and so which is why like somebody could be really good at a certain narrative, but if that's the only narrative they hit, it's gonna sound boring. It's not gonna sound as good because it's like just one thing. Whereas like Reece said, in this narrative wise, you're only ever really talking about like the tactical narrative of like what's happening, and then sometimes dipping into like strategical narratives of like what a team's overarching idea is in any given situation. And like you said, a lot of these guys that were there, shout out to everyone that was a part of that show. Like really nice people, put a lot of effort into knowing like player history, even where they maybe didn't need to, you know, like people were asking me questions non-stop of like XYZ, right? And like, you know, people coming to me with things that they had researched and found and were like, is this the case? Blah, blah, blah. So they did a great job with that. But yeah, like it's definitely different. And like you said, when they've been like a lot of these guys, you can't even stress how much they've been doing this. Like how some of these guys have been commentating COD and Halo for literally 20 years. Like, you know, so it's like a lot of them got the flow of the game super quickly, and you know that definitely was a big benefit. But it was good to see that people like enjoyed the commentary because that was always like a big concern. Like I saw when I landed in Riyadh, I saw like the announcement tweet where they did the talent announcement.
Yeah.
Everybody was like freaking out, like, "Oh my god!"
Well, I was on the hate train to start off, right? Like, I made that tweet that you're talking about. Like, why the hell the Fortnite people? But like, I was pleasantly surprised by the quality of casting, and you know, like obviously these guys are good at their jobs, otherwise they wouldn't be there. So I was doubted wrong there. The funny thing is, you talk about like stats and stuff. They always did try to slip in stuff like, oh, here we have Hellfire who placed 15th in FNTS, by the way, and then they just went off with the third narrative. They tried to slip it in there. It was a little bit unnatural sometimes, but like I agree, like it's different type of casting, but I think there is a lot that I think it was nice. How do I say it without being mean? Like these guys felt very professional, and sometimes I think that's something that we lack on the FNTasia's broadcast when it comes to casting as well. It's like that little tone of voice, that sort of that locked inness, so to say. I think is something to be desired sometimes.
I mean, casting this is basically like casting an endgame all game. You know, in terms of like the analysis and the tone you're bringing and all that kind of stuff. And it's hard to do that in Fortnite anyway. Like I feel like a lot. I mean, I'll be real. When I was casting, not doing analysis stuff, I hated the fast-paced side-of-head game. I just couldn't do it. My brain don't work that quick, right? And you know, it takes like a certain talent to do that really well. And as we mentioned, these guys are absolute pros and absolute experts. They know the game was already, so it's like they have it down to a T. I
can't stress enough, like how again a lot of people Fortnite people don't know, but like when you look at the talent, these guys are like legends of their respective games. You know, the joke that we had there when I was there with them was very much like, I'm the only person here who's not been nominated or won an esports award for comedy. You know?
They did mention about 600 times on the desk. So he is just the analyst of the year, blah blah blah.
Esports 2022 esports analyst of the year. Just go and 11-2K. It's like,
this fucking fraud, man.
Fraud, bro.
No, to me, Puckett did call me the voice of Fortnite, which I will take that. I don't think I am, but I'll take that.
It is cool to see legends of the game. I don't know any of the cast, but I know Puckett from like the MLG days, and it was really cool to see, like, holy shit, this guy's like a really cool guy from like the back in the day, and he's commentating my game now. It's like it was a cool crossover to see.
Bro, I said this to Levin. You didn't fucking send me a picture or say hello to him for me. I know that you awful. Back in 2005, when he was casting Halo, or he was like casting Halo 2 back then, he was like the caster that everyone was like falling in love with and watching because he was so good.
Yeah.
And now to see literally almost 20 years later him be on the same broadcast as like in Fortnite stuff is just really cool. So like that is the kind of caliber of people who are doing it. So you know, I'll be real. I've seen a lot of these people do Fortnite events and cast Fortnite events before. I'll be honest with you, it doesn't usually go well. Yeah. It's not the same when it's like a full FNCS. So because the game mode doesn't match what they know, doesn't match their skill set either. So I think I want to come back to the original point you said there was that there's things we can carry over to main FNCS. Sure, absolutely. Maybe for end gamey kind of stuff and like tone inflection, absolutely. The one thing I think is good enough to stress is actually just how difficult casting a 25-minute game of Fortnite really is.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard.
Tough.
I mean, that's why when I was in broadcast, I would love to be an analyst desk. Like, there's so much effort in casting 27 minutes, right? Analyst desk, you're just chilling there for like 5 minutes. You're talking about the game real quick. Like, there's a certain level of skill to it, but like, it's so much more effort to cast the whole game.
Well,
like,
you think about what you're gonna say, whereas like when you're when you're on the broadcast, you have to think on the fly.
So you can't say no.
A slight disagreement
I have a
with
take
that.
on this.
Yeah, I think it's way harder to say something valuable as an analyst in the broadcast than it is to say something valuable while casting, though, because the tools you are given is literally nothing. So to provide, you know, a valuable piece of analysis on a game you watched where the winner, you may have only watched the winning moment, that is not easy. But if you're casting it, you're just casting the hype and you've built up the story across the game. But to actually provide deep analysis on something you might not have watched, you have to have so much back knowledge. You have to make it up pretty much, or just try and force the point to talk about something else. You know?
I mean, I know we were on the broadcast together, right? And like one of the hardest part we've had together was like, okay, how much can we actually say without saying too much? Because you don't want to overcook on the analyst desk. But like, what I mean is just like, just 27 minutes of talking is just hard. You know, it's hard to do 27 minutes of talking. Also, just effort-wise, you're just gonna get tired as hell. Like that's why, like, I think analyst is just so much nicer as like someone that's maybe a little bit more lazy. It's like, okay, 5 minutes. Okay, I can talk about the stuff I want to talk about, but after 5 minutes, you know, the anxiety's done, and I don't have the gun to my head and say by saying the wrong word by accident. Because I said the F word on my first FNtasia broadcast when I was commentating. You know, like there's only downhill from there.
Yeah, that is crazy.
What was your take, Levin? You were saying you had to take the
you basically said a lot of what I would say. Like,
all right, okay.
I've done both for years, so I like to think I've done both well. But
you're all right.
You're okay.
Yeah, I'm not bad. I'm not an esports analyst.
You're not the voice of Fortnite or anything.
Nominated. Yeah, come on.
But like, yeah, no, both definitely are difficult in ways. I think a lot of people, and this is a problem across all esports, I think a lot of people don't really understand what you should be doing in the analyst role of like a desk. And so like it's easy to misunderstand like what is actually good analyst work and what's not good analyst work. And I think to do good analyst work, it's really hard, especially in Fortnite, like for some of the reasons Reece said, where like you might have only seen 10 seconds of the team that won, and now you're supposed to talk about them for the next 2 minutes and say something valuable that's interesting that people like. That's fucking crazy. So yeah, it's all in all, casting I think is hard and harder than people give it credit for. But it was good to see people enjoyed like the casting and the broadcast for this event. Like I got a lot of positive feedback, which was really nice.
Yeah.
And props to all the people that I worked with, because yeah, a lot of them worked super hard to make sure that they weren't just guys who came in and just phoned it in for one event and collect their money and go. Like they wanted to make it theirs.
It was obvious too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, was it? I can't remember his name. He was on the desk. And he was the Call of Duty caster. You know, the one that did Call of Duty and the one who did Halo. I can't remember his name.
Mr. X.
I don't know. He had a beard. It's similar to mine, kind of American guy.
Mr. X.
Yeah, and it's like I saw him go. So after he'd done a full day broadcast, I saw him go on the computers in the player lounge. And he was there for about 2 or 3 hours. I don't know what he was doing, just typing away.
Oh, it might have been a shift. Was he commentating? Like, was he one of the commentators?
Yeah, he was an American guy, brown hair.
There's a lot of American guys with brown hair.
Yeah, but he was on the desk with the guy who had like slightly ginger hair, and then he had it slicked back.
The Coach Harry, basically, yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know. Yeah, but like after you said, because like you mentioned to me, Levin, like have a long days. The long days you have, so the longest days.
Those are the longest days I've ever worked. Yeah. I've never again, Fortnite, you know, typically we have like 6 game days, right? And yeah, I was there longer than, because some of those BO7s just kept going and going, and you're like, holy shit, bro. Like there was a day I didn't leave until like 1 a.m. and I'm like, damn, I've not worked a day that long.
Time zone differences too.
So after that long day, like that was 1 a.m. He's gone on the computer, and I saw him like go up to his hotel at like 3:30 a.m. You know,
respect.
People working hard.
Yeah.
Just bring it up a bit. I don't think, was it this guy? Was it this guy?
It's not this guy. It's not this guy.
He had like a necklace. I remember he had like a necklace on.
It would have been Shift then, I think. I hope Shift. He was really good. Shift was really like so again of like
that's him. Yeah.
To show like Shift was the only person that predicted Exed to win the tournament, and when I saw he had predicted them, I was like, he's clearly been locked in and like watching VODs and like analyzing. Like that's like a prediction of someone who's actually really watched and has thought about it and thought, you know what, I can see these guys doing really well. So big ups to Shift. That was he was great. And everyone's great. But anything else with EWC? I feel like we covered mostly everything.
I think like we covered all the ground. Oh, the only thing is, how do you feel about picking up another player after you qualified? So the fact that Cole didn't qualify with Man City meant that he was in. Like, do you think that's fair that someone can just pick up another player?
We talked about this when all that drama happened.
Yeah,
I can't remember what we said about it, but I think the general consensus that we had was that they need to clean up the rules to where like
protect the players.
Yeah, to protect the players better and to like. Because I don't have a problem with it inherently because Cole was the best player in the world. So I want to see the best player in the world at the biggest tournament of the year. So having something that allows players like him who are super talented to still be involved, even if maybe their team was shit and so they didn't qual, makes sense. Like, I don't mind that as long as we find a way to make it balanced. Like, if they're gonna make a circuit out of this, then maybe like, you know, you have certain things with like trades and like you have a trade deadline and you have these. I mean, like you could do something to make it fair. I get the concern of people going, yeah, but he didn't call. No, he's just joined that team and now they're the best team. But I'd rather have seen Cold at this tournament than not see Cold. Is how I look at it.
Just field 5-man rosters. I think that's just good. Like if you have someone, like you have a 5th man, and like you can't kick the guy that you're gonna kick, but you just add on one more player at the end if you want to, and then you have to have like a rule where the guy plays like at least one match or something like that. You know, like and then boom, you protect the player, they get to play at least
one match in a series, one or two,
Yeah, there's things you can do there. There's definitely things you can do there. I think the last point on this is, you know, is this the future? Like, is there a future in this? Does this end here? Do we keep this going? What's
it's a little bit. I think it's almost still a little bit too soon to tell. You know,
you reckon? Okay.
I mean, I definitely see the potential in the future in it.
Yeah.
But it's that. Well, my opinion's invalid. It's what Fortnite think of it. It's Fortnite see a future in it essentially, and I know they've proposed. The ESL have proposed like a pro league and things like that over the next year, and I think they'll have some sort of idea. They're hoping by the end of September of what this next year might look like. But I think it's fantastic for the game because it brings like this org rivalry, which is really good from a player point of view and a fan point of view. You know, you have Exed. You don't just have player fans. I mean, you still have that. You still have the Peterbot fans and the Veno fans. But I think I think it's really good for the game and the players and orgs if there's like Exed fans, you know, it gives players good salaries. It means orgs make more money. They can sell merch and things like that, and it's just a better viewing experience. Like it's more hyped in the stadiums on stage than other tournaments.
Yeah, I've never been cared about orgs in Fortnite ever. This doesn't make me care about orgs in Fortnite ever, but it at least is like a talking point on it, you know. One of the conversations I've had with people before in main FNCS is I'm like, you know, I try to be very balanced with Epic and everything, where, you know, I understand that they are a business and they do well as well. And for the main Battle Royale game mode, anytime someone talks about putting orgs into Fortnite, I just ask why. What does Epic Games and the scene benefit from having more orgs? And there's always people who are like, well, you know, the players get paid more and, you know, then they can fund them. And I just keep asking the question, I'm like, but does that actually like make them better? Blah, 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 blah. For this, I'm like, I get it that it makes more sense. It gives a place for them to be more, you know, centralized, make more money, have a business opportunity. So I get it here, and it's kind of separated out, and maybe people will stop trying to force orgs into Battle Royale where I don't think they have much benefit. But I think for the future, it'll be really difficult to keep it as like a continual interesting mode, because surely it's like ESL have to find some way to make this somewhat profitable in a way, whether that's orgs have buy-in, and then is there enough value for them to have buy-in like they would in Counter-Strike and all these other kind of things. We'll have to see, because obviously it's all it's just funded by Saudi money right now, and that only obviously there's a lot of Saudi money out there, but that'll only take you so far. So every single year, I'm sure we may have dream hacks leading up into this, which would be cool to watch. Like same as this year, it was good, but that doesn't really build that much hype throughout the rest of the year with, like, you know, saying the pro leagues and things like that. Obviously, it kind of depends what that looks like, but I see us having the dream hacks and the esports World Cup, this mode, improving on it every year. That would be sick. It would be good to watch, but I don't know how integral it'll become into like the Fortnite scene.
It's weird because we've obviously had talks about like there being a second track to FNCS for a long time, right? And for a while, it was like Zero Build is going to be that. And I think of everything we've seen so far, like the different modes people have tried and the different ideas people have had, I think this is the best iteration of what like a second track could look like that I've seen. I mean, it's the one that I think has interested me the most. With that being said, though, again, there still has to be stuff done, because you're right, Reese. Like this, eventually it has to be something that not runs itself, but like there has to be more to it than just we're just going to dump a bunch of money in. You know, even from like the money perspective of like how much money they're dumping into this, the viewership has to match, right? Viewership was not bad, right? But like this has to be something people are interested in to watch and people, you know, get excited for. And I think it can be that. It goes back to sort of what I was saying earlier of like people interacting with the mode. Like I think this would be so easy and a no-brainer if you told me that like that hardpoint chalet map and the fucking capture the flag map and the other hardpoint map and keeper map. If you went on creative right now and they all just had like 10,000 people playing, because people just actually enjoy playing those modes, then it like this whole thing makes so much more sense and it's easier. It's like, of course we keep doing this. Of course we make a circuit out of this. Of course, like everything falls into place. I think they maybe in its current iteration, it's not, but like I think they need to work towards building something that like actual just the Fortnite community really enjoys playing beyond just the actual top level pros, because all the pros enjoy playing it. That's not been, you know, questionable. But if they can make a product that people in the community enjoy playing, they can benefit from UEFN with that. Then they, you know, if Epic allows them to, they run more tournaments, you know, with like the Face It weekly tournaments. If they end up doing like a pro league type thing, like there's definitely something there to be worked with. I'd like to see them pursue it.
It's fun to play and it's fun to watch, but like you said, the logistics of it just all have to match up.
Yeah.
I mean,
Sorry, I was quick side tangent. Do you think that a lot of pros like playing it not because it's good, but because it's just not Fortnite and they'd rather be pros in Counter-Strike or Valorant?
I think that the general consensus of everyone enjoyed playing it, except for Dignitas. Because we're not going to get into that. They were having a lot of arguments and stuff, so they didn't have fun preparing, didn't have fun practicing, didn't have fun playing. But everyone seemed to love it because it's a very competitive mode. There's a lot less RNG compared to regular Fortnite. And I guess it probably brings back a little bit of nostalgia from playing other games. But like just generally, it's a really competitive game mode. And unless it's like you have the hardpoint situation, but generally the best team wins.
Right.
So yeah, pretty much then.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because you heard Thomas on the broadcast like, I'm not even focused on FNtasia anymore. Like, fuck that shit. I don't care anymore. Like, I do think they Fortnite pros have been through enough abuse to like, this actually felt like, hey, man, we're real esports stars now. You know, like we're feeling good.
Yeah. Harry's not on the show today, but I spoke to Harry, and Harry was like, at points in the weekend, for the first time almost ever, it was like, wow, this is an esport. Like Fortnite's an esport. Like it gave real esport vibes. Like it actually gave vibes of like, this is a traditional esport, which, you know, I don't think Fortnite competitive has to be that, like some, you know, but like, I think people enjoyed that aspect of it for sure.
The problem with making it like the main thing, or like making it more mainstream now, is that, dude, none of these Fortnite kids have ever watched another esport. Like the amount of people that just came in and was like, "Oh, I don't understand it. What's happening here?" Like they only watch Battle Royale. They've only watched Battle Royale. They've only played Fortnite in their entire lives, right? So it's gonna be very hard to convert an audience that already has, you know, that is invested into Fortnite competitive because they like Battle Royale to now swap over to something else. And it takes a lot. And like you said, is like you need to let these players play. And right now, the ecosystem for letting people play through just, you know, public matchmaking doesn't work. The Face It stuff also doesn't really work because people don't know how to fucking use Face It, right? Like, I think the real path, and this might be a little bit biased, but it's to, you know, the traditional scrim systems and Discords that people have, and like trying to go through that way because that's what people know how to play. Like, press the button in Discord, boom, queue up, let's play.
Yeah, no, I definitely think there has to be a balance of like using the inroads that people are familiar with, but also like the goal shouldn't be to try and convert everyone that's a Battle Royale viewer to being a viewer of this. No. It doesn't, like, some people just genuinely aren't interested, and that's fine. Some people like Fortnite because it's Fortnite. They like Battle Royale because Battle Royale, and that's okay. I think the fact that we had so many people invested while watching this shows that, like, you know, like you're like, people will come in, which is why I'm saying, like, if this is something that people are already playing and then you're just telling them, hey, like, watch it, that'd be great. Another side tangent here. And it was funny because I had a lot of conversations with, like, obviously the podcasters and the Halo casters about this. Was like, I would have loved, and I really wish it did this for this. So COD is this week now for EWC. I would have loved if they would have had like a COD team come and do like a show match on like the final day, just playing. It's like just chuck him in, like, but like get like Scump and fucking Crim6 and Claystar and just like stick them on like a team and do like a show match. That would have been fun. And a lot of them were like, they'd love to see like tier 3, maybe like lower tier like players from like some of those other games try and play something like this. And that's something we talked about when this first got announced, right?
Remember we were like, team,
like, we were like, hold on a minute. because some of the signups for like the face events had like 4 teams. You know, imagine like a quad team, like a pro quad team, like just rolling up on like this hardpoint map with like fucking setups that people just haven't thought of because again they've just never played like a map like this. Like it would be cool to see like players from other games try get involved in these modes, especially because I know people will be like, yeah, it's Fortnite, it's different, there's certain mechanics. I think people forget how many pros in other games have also like played Fortnite a bunch, you know, and
Summit
like
1G, Shroud, they dominated that shit when they were playing.
Yeah, like
aim is key.
There's people who like are pros in other games who give them like a good 6 months and they would be top players in this, just because they're fucking gamers. So I'd love to see that happen.
The funny thing as well is like a lot of people. It's kind of got the zero build effect too, because a lot of people thought like I'm gonna go into this and I'm gonna be a pro. Like I'm so much better than these pros. I'm just suck at building, but like zero build's my thing. And then we only had like 2 zero build pros that actually actively, you know, became like a top tier team, like Milks and Pilkey. So like yeah. Wait, who's the other one you said?
I was gonna say Coty.
Coty?
Coty, big Coty.
Yeah, I mean, Coty was like, I mean, Milks and Pilkey as like the 2 zero builders, right? So, I mean, Coty also in the, I mean, he made heats in FNtasia, but yeah, I mean, it goes, it's one of those things again with the argument like, hey, is a Fortnite pro going to be good at something else in Fortnite? Yeah, all tier 1 pros, like literally all the best of the players are going to do good in this game mode. So, yeah, just wanted to note that.
On that, actually, talking about tier 1 pros be good is you know, kind of ties back to what we're talking about here, which is the future of it, where, you know, the best players right now are Battle Royale players, and Battle Royale is something that they're all going to be focusing on, obviously, for the majority of the year. If there's no tournaments that are not massive, like DreamHack or this, like, you know, we say the ranked stuff in the weekly, wherever you talked about, but it's like, how many of them are really going to be locked in and focused on grinding that?
Yeah.
Until there's a big tournament. So, you know, right now it's mainly just the top teams who are playing it. And if they're not playing it, then no one's getting good practice. You know, if you're like a team who's tier 2 or whatever, we might, you know, or top 8 or whatever, you know, you're not going to be a team who's going to get good practice because all the best players are more than likely going to be playing Battle Royale. I mean, so the problem
it would be nice to have like a pro league, like say they put, I don't know, 100k a month, you know, 100k a month, and there's like, I don't know.
So it's maybe, a lot of money to deck is nothing.
Well, if it's funded by Saudi because they want to have a cool game mode or whoever, or even it's 25k a month or something. If they put like a pro league with money like that consistently throughout the year, I still think I definitely think people would still play it.
So yeah, no, I think that could work. Again, I think the last thing I'll say on that specifically, like the idea of like how do you make this a thing moving forward, is I think the focus has to be on bottom up instead of top down. I don't think like chucking a bunch of money into it at the top and then just like hoping eventually everyone's just gonna like get invested in it and like it is like the best way to go about it. I think they need to start from the bottom of need to start by just making a mode that is super popular in UEFN that like everyone, like people just play because it's really good. And then from there you build it upwards and go up and like build out a pro league or top level thing. I think that is the way it would be most sustainable. And I think that is the way to get the most buy-in from Epic as well. Because that's the whole goal of Epic and what they've been doing with like UEFN, right? Like they want
on the game to
they want people, they want to build out, they want people to be able to build out games and ecosystems through UEFN. And like if someone can do that right, I think you got something really special there. But yeah,
I agree.
This can't just be a thing that just sits there. Like if now nothing happens and then next year they're like, hey, we're doing this again, right? Go play at DreamHack Dallas or in this, like I feel like that would be a wasted opportunity potentially there. But yeah, EWC was fun. It was fun. It was nice to have something on to watch, especially because end of the season vibes never the most entertaining to say the least.
Something different.
But we did have some new season information, some juice we got. They dropped a trailer showcasing all of the latest and greatest in the world of Marvel that we will be getting next season. Dr. Doom is back. No Doom's Domain, but even stronger looking POI. Like this, I can't lie. Shout out to Fortnite. They always kill it with the trailers. Like, the trailers like mad sick. You know
Yo, this got me so hyped. I'm not gonna lie. This stuff is so cool.
Just it feels nostalgic almost to like you know, the season, start season type of days. You know, like we're finally back, baby.
Is Fortnite back? Is this the
This
moment?
This
This
is
trailer?
it. I mean,
It's
Marvel
back.
money
It's
is Marvel
over.
money.
It's
You know,
back.
like
It's over. It's
$50
back.
million
It's
prize
over.
point coming, guaranteed, surely.
I mean, Marvel got it. You know,
Yeah.
I heard the new Deadpool movie's doing great. I'm sure they'll have
$1
$16
billion,
million.
Yeah.
So.
Great movie, by the way.
What did people think of this? I mean, there's a lot of abilities. Like this whole trailer is just them showcasing the Marvel abilities that we will have next season.
Yeah, that looks really good. I think it's just it's all about balance, really. All about balancing. Is it going to be in the ranked game modes? Hopefully not. It looks like they changed that this season. But yeah, is stuff going to get nerfed? Is stuff going to get removed? And is stuff going to be in competitive?
I mean, without using my uber competitive brain, like a lot of this shit looks really cool.
Yeah.
Like it's actually like a lot of this shit. Yeah, like I mean, well, look, a lot of this stuff looks really cool. Again, it will be about like making sure you put it in, like giving everyone their space to enjoy what they want. Like people who play ranked might not want all these things. People who play competitive definitely don't want these things.
Yeah.
But the casuals love it, and I'm sure the 6 games of regular pubs I play, I will have so much fun being Dr. Who. But it's cool that they have like this massive season. I wonder how much like hype in terms of like, do you reckon like this is actually going to bring in like a bunch of people before? Because we know like OG's coming up, like the OG season's coming up after this. Yeah. I'm sure OG season will bring in a bunch of people, but like, do you feel like this will be enough to like get the people back in playing Fortnite in the summer here?
I think so. I think people underestimate how much people love skins in Fortnite. It's kind of a weird thing. It's like, we really, like, all these people just want to give their money to Epic Games. Right? It's like, what, item shop, this and that. So, like, I think people underestimate, like, the ability to play your favorite character from a movie in Fortnite is, like, the coolest thing ever for these people. And, like, that is something that's going to bring them back. The Marvel is massive. Like you said, like, the Deadpool stuff is insane. It's at the perfect time as well with OG Fortnite coming back. Like people already know that. Like maybe not everyone knows that, but now that these people are coming back to Marvel, they're going to be tapped into social media. They'll see the leaks and stuff. Like it's only going to bring more and more people back to it. So I think it's going to be a crazy season. And from the content creators that are in the know, from what I've heard from them, like Fortnite's safe, baby. It's safe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not one of them, by the way, because everyone's wondering before I say this. Yeah, I think like. I don't know if we'll have like a peak. I think there's definitely a lot of interest because you're right. There's a lot of skins that people love, in particular Marvel skins. Any collab, you know, when anything that was like that is nostalgic in some way, like Dragon Ball Z, like they have huge. Like anytime I say a season shit, the amount of comments I get, they're like, "Yeah, but Dragon Ball Z skin was in," and I was this is just not something that's been in my mind or my consideration, you know. So I think there will be a massive portion of casuals that come back now. Or how good the season will be, again, yeah, as we've all mentioned, will depend on the balance. Now, as I kind of said earlier, I think one of the big things will be they've learned a lot from this season. It's global championships. I think the meta will not be that bad competitively, in particular when it comes to global championships. And if you actually play pubs now, if you jump into a game of pubs now, it's so different. Like the amount of items they ended up taking out is actually insane. There is a lot of hooks. There's just some hook gun for the cars, which would be super busted. There's like 5 or 6 different items that are not in rank that are. So there is actually already a massive split in the like loot pools and things. They also made changes this season to loot pools, difference between 0 build and build, which would be like Nitro damage, where the Nitro was nerfed in build, but not in 0 build. So it still does 300. So I think going forward, we'll have good. The big problem I have will be, I wonder how much Epic would use the Global Championship as a bit of a marketing tool to show numbers on for the Marvel season. So, do they want to showcase these items off in a big event with like viewers and, people in it? Now, there's 2 ways that could go. The most shitty busted ones are all going to be in comp, which I don't actually believe. Or are they thinking, okay, we're going to have some shitty busted ones, these are taken out, and we're going to have a bunch of more balanced items like, say the Kinetic Blade, but some Marvel equivalent of that, that will fit the theme of the season. So we have like a good mixture of items. Some are balanced and in, and some are just, pubs and completely out. That's my guess going, and that's what I would hope, but I guess only time will tell.
I do wonder how much the Marvel execs were in the meeting. Like, we want this shown at the global championships. You know.
Yeah, I don't think it's. I don't know how much of it's that. I think
no,
it might.
it's
the
more so
conversations
just,
the other way around.
No,
Yeah,
no, I'm just trolling. I know that's not.
Yeah,
how
yeah.
it actually is. I think for the most part, it will also be about like the POIs. Like, how busted will the like Marvel themed POIs and spots be? In like, do they create like a huge imbalance on the map? Like, I don't think in that we saw anything about medallions and that stuff. Like,
no,
I'm sure there will be some, like, it will all be like Marvel themed medallions, and like, how busted do we get with that? Like, there's still so many unknowns. Just from that trailer though, looks cool, man. It's cool. Let's see what they have going into the new season.
I also like. I might have a crazy take here, but like, I'm also down to just have some crazy shit in it, right? Like, you want a season to have its own identity, not like too much crazy shit.
Bro,
but like,
bro followed this season with that sentence. That's crazy.
No. But like, if every season has a theme, but if it's a Marvel theme, you want at least like one Marvel item in competitive, right? Like, you want something. Like, you don't want it all out of it, right? Otherwise, the season loses identity. Like, we can have a very balanced competitive season while having one main thing be like the main thing. Like, if the main movement next season is Iron Man's blasters and everyone's blasting around endgame, so be it. Fuck it. You know, it might look a bit wonky, it might be a bit weird, but like, if that's it, that's fine. Like, we don't have to have that removed. I think there's a room and there's a place for a nice balanced season with one main core item that's critical to the theme of the season. Like I said in chapter 4, that's the type of thing we had, and I thought that worked well. So I hope we have the same here. I hope not everything gets removed.
Yeah, but I think that goes to what Reese said of just like, I hope they're just designing these things with that in mind. Like, I hope they're not designing these things to be game defining in totality, right? Like, I hope they're designing these things to be things that seamlessly weave their way into like what already exists as like a loot pool and a meta. Because then we get what you want, Boop, where it's like these things matter, we see them used in comp, they're part of the season's identity, but we're not looking back on it at the end of the season going, this team won because of this item. Or this is because of it. You know what I mean? That I think is the nice balance to strike. Yeah, shout out to Absolute Dupe. Is it coming out like this Friday? Isn't this
Friday,
drop?
yeah.
Like, damn, I'm not gonna be home for that.
Me neither.
Okay. We're gonna run some games.
I'm down.
Let's do it. Anything else anyone wanna jump into?
I think it's hard to say on the trailer, but I look forward to our next Tuesday episode, or we're recorded next Tuesday, where we can look back at this week, all of the predictions we had, and just go, oh, we were so wrong! You know?
I'm not going to regret my comments. Never mind, take it all out. We don't need it. Yeah.
I mean, the worry as well is that, like, there's no FNCS next season. So there's no, like, you know when they always do the whole, like, well, we need more data gimmick.
They love the data.
Yeah.
I mean, we have
those gloves. We need the data to show that jumping into every box, not being able to be hit and doing 70 damage a punch. The data needs to show that this is broken.
We need the data, but we're not going to run any tournaments for you to get that data before globals. So.
We'll go on a 2-week holiday as well.
Yeah, I mean, they'll probably go on a holiday, realistically. The thing is that as well, I feel like next season, at least for the players that don't qualify to globals, is going to be one of those seasons where they just do like a bunch of random things, right? Like maybe they do like the Wild Wednesday type of tournaments. We already know they're bringing back reload cups, right? Like these aren't going to be main meta game mode battle royale tournaments. I think we're going to get a lot of those. I feel like they're trying to cook something slightly different so that people are occupied, because that's the main thing that everyone hates is like, yo, I didn't qualify for FNCS Global Championships. What do I do with my time now? And maybe they'll run some crazy stuff. So there's not going to be that much testing, but you just know there's going to be 1 billion eval cups anyway. So like they'll have the data. So
true. All right then, that's a wrap for me. What's everyone up to? I mean, everyone's playing the new season. Reese is making a video. Hoop is doing some viewing parties and playing the stream.
Scrims, baby.
Bloomy is going to be streaming now that he doesn't have to focus on the ESO. He's going to be streaming 24/7. I'm going to be doing jack shit, and that's what we're doing, right? Did I miss anything?
I want to add here quickly, as we were doing this, none of you guys play Pokemon or Shiny Hunt whatsoever. But I was as we were going here, I was resetting for a shiny that I killed. Basically, a shiny's 1 in 8,000 odds, and it's a different color. And it's just basically just a Pokemon that's a different color. So rather than red, it's yellow. And as we were playing here, I fucking got it.
Oh,
So there
nice.
you go.
Wow.
I managed to get my
Congrats.
shiny Groudon.
Congratulations.
It took me
Well done,
a week
Rita.
after fucking it up last time. So
See, you
there
should
we
have
go.
taken that 1 in 1,000 and put it on black. You know, you could have just gambled with that odds and you would have been a
No,
millionaire.
no.
So, like, you know, don't play Pokemon, gamble.
Dang,
There you
you're
go.
right.
Bang.
You're right. So that's what really matters about this podcast. There was an outburst at one point there where I found it and I was like, yes! And I think I have cut off on someone's sentence, but there you go.
That's fine.
So I'll be doing that too.
Let Reese know in the comments how impressed you are with him getting his
shiny
So
Pokemon.
there'll be someone passionate in there that
Yeah.
loves
There'll
it.
be someone
there
so
better be.
excited. Yeah.
There will be someone in the comments that'll be excited about
No
that.
way you didn't interrupt the podcast, is it?
I was actually gonna, bro. I was literally just gonna be like, "Shut up, mate! I'm going fucking."
Is that why you were out of your chair at one point? I was you just doing laps around the apartment?
No. So at 2 different times during this podcast, someone outside has started cutting a tree down with a chainsaw. So I had like the window open, and I was like, "What is this?" And I can hear it. I've got the sound, even with the sound cancel on. I was, "What the hell? Shut that!" Another time, like they did it again, but there's like the door open around in the other room, and I was like, "Jeez, I gotta close this." And I took like 3 pisses. So there you go.
Stay hydrated.
Fucking the piss inspector here, mate.
There
Thank
you
you.
go.
Yeah.
Well,
NP1.
appreciate you joining us, Bloomy, for a nap.
Thank you, thanks for having me.
Nice to have you in. Yeah.
I realized we didn't talk about how Bloomy's games went whatsoever.
He sort of mentioned it. We just roasted him for losing on Hardpoint Chalet Red Side.
We finished between 5th and 8th, so it's an area where I'm content / happy with. You know, we were the lowest seeded team pretty much every game, so it was hard. You know, we played heroic in the quarterfinals, and I wasn't too disheartened because we played really well and the maps were close. So I feel like we could have beat them if we were better seeded, or if it was, you know, if the maps were more even. But it is what it is.
I mean, I think literally everything went exactly how you said in the interview we did with you like 3 months ago. Like literally everything went exactly as you said, which may be why in my head I was like, we don't really need to say anything because you just all went how you said already. But yeah, appreciate you joining us and hanging out. We will see you next week to talk about the new season and more things compared to Fortnite. Peace.
Bye.